Hey buddy, what's up? It's Monday. So I want to talk to you today about something that's been bothering me all the way since 2000, when President George Bush ran against presidential hopeful Al Gore. Now I don't know if you know a lot about this election or not, but Al Gore won the popular vote, and the entire election pretty much came down to just a few districts in Florida, and they had to do this massive recount, and the courts got involved and stuff like that. Now I don't know how I feel about the popular vote versus the electoral vote counts, but there is one thing very specific with the electoral votes that I don't like, and that is the vote values. And let me give you an example, okay? California has a population of just under 40 million people. Those 40 million people, their total electoral votes are 55, which means that 727,000 people equal one electoral vote. Now, the thing is that if you compare it to a state like Wyoming, which actually has the lowest population, which is why I wanted to compare these two, it's the biggest versus smallest. Wyoming has a total population of about 600,000, and they have 3 electoral votes. That means that each one of their electoral votes is equivalent to about 200,000 people voting, like 200,000 normal votes. That means the electoral votes for Wyoming are about 3.5 times as valuable as a vote from California. The reason that this exists is because there's a minimum amount of electoral votes that each state can have, and it's 3. No matter what state, they all have 3 electoral votes, which was designed in a way so that very sparsely populated states, the ones who have to agree to this system when they're signing the Constitution into place and ratifying it, they had to agree to this. Now, they're not, since they're sparsely populated, they're not going to agree to just only have one electoral vote. They want to have a say in stuff. So that makes sense. The other thing that the Electoral College does, which is very good, is instead of having one election, we're pretty much having like 500, almost 600 tiny elections, which means, let's say I stuffed the ballot box in one location. No matter what, that's not going to be enough to carry even the entire state, let alone the entire election, which means that you would have to stuff ballot boxes strategically in a lot of districts in a lot of states in order to ensure a candidate wins. Now, I guess you can cheat a little bit to kind of push things in the right direction, but to actually ensure something, it's very difficult. So I don't have a problem with the miniature election system. I think it's very good, and I think there's a lot of safety behind that. I even like the electoral thing in the sense that the electoral representatives could, they never have that I know of, but they could decide that they're not going to go with the population. They're just going to vote with their gut, and I think that's a good safety thing to have in place where even if everybody votes for somebody who's awful, they can veto it and put their own person in place. And a lot of people are worried about that being corrupted and stuff, but the thing is that just never happened, so it's not a concern for me. But the problem I have is now you're giving these very sparsely populated states more power than they should in deciding stuff. So let's say you take the most sparsely populated state, which is Wyoming, and you divide their just under 600,000 people by 3, which because that's the minimum electorals you can have for a state. You get about 193,000. I did the math, and I have it written down like right below the thing. So 193,000. So what you should do then is in every other state, you should take their population and divide it by 193,000. And whatever number you come up with is how many votes, electoral votes, that state should have. And here's why it'll never happen, because guess how many votes that would give California? 2,072 votes. It would drastically make it so that if you were to do this system, if you won Texas, California, New York, Florida, and I think Pennsylvania, doesn't matter what the rest of the state wants, you won. Now, me, morally, I don't know if that's necessarily the worst thing, because the thing is that if that's where 51% of the population live and they won't want something, shouldn't they get it? I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is, but I do think that undervaluing one person's vote because they live in one state and overvaluing another because they live in a different state, I think that's wrong. I think that's against what democracy should be. So I'm not sure what the right solution here is, but I don't like the current system because, yeah, you're basically undervaluing people's votes, and I don't think that should ever happen. Anyway, buddy, thank you for listening. I hope you learned something, or at least my opinion on something. I love you. I'm proud of you. I miss you. and stay awesome.